Now, if you clicked on this video because you're a Manchester City fan and you're angry that an Arsenal fan of all people should accuse you happy-go-lucky Sky Blues of being anything but the most positive people, then stick around, because I don't want you to think this is just my opinion. I'm intending to demonstrate it, and I'm going to do that using your help. So stick around. But first, before I do all of that, I want to explain where this video is coming from and why I feel like this and why I think I can prove it. And that is that, look, as a fan of Arsenal, I, of course, love all things Arsenal, but we play in a Premier League and I watch a lot of football, so I have a lot of opinions about other clubs. I have, over the time this channel has been going, made content about Chelsea, Manchester United, Tottenham, and even Arsenal, which has garnered a lot of comments. Some videos get a lot of comments. The ones that get the most are when people tend to completely disagree with me, or at least when a large number of people tend to disagree with me. But I don't go out of my way to make videos like that. Even this one isn't being created with that in mind. I'm not just trying to get views and comments. I'm actually using this channel to share what I think and what I've observed and see, as I'm doing this one, if I can prove it using sound arguments or an experiment, as in the case of this one. But when I make content, all of the comments I get break into three categories. There's the first category, which is people who've watched the video, at least most, if not all of it, and have an opinion based on the content that they have seen all of, and therefore probably have a good idea what I was trying to say. And whether I agree or disagree with those, they are the comments I love the most. They are the lifeblood of a good channel, because they allow for differing opinions and sometimes a nice heated debate. And who doesn't love a heated debate in football? They're the sort of people who you would ask an opinion because they've been to see a film. So if I wanted to go and see The Joker Part 2, I'd ask someone who'd seen all of it, and their opinion would matter. I know we live in an age where people feel they're all entitled to an opinion, and you are. Everyone is entitled to an opinion. But just how important that opinion is differs. If you've seen the whole content of a video and you have an opinion on it, I have to respect that your opinion is worth something. There's a second group, though, and you can probably guess what I'm saying. The second group have seen just enough of a video to make their mind up. They're the kind of people who might have walked out halfway through a film, well, I still respect their opinions. And in this experiment, those people are kind of you. You've watched this much of it, and anything you watch from after here, fair play to you. You probably know what I'm saying. You've probably decided you can see what I'm going to say, and you have an opinion on it, and you feel that I would benefit from hearing that opinion and other people would benefit from seeing it. So you go into the comments and you write something. And if you're going to do that, could you put part 2 in your comment somewhere so that we can differentiate you? That's part of this experiment. Then there's the final group. The final group are the types of people who, without actually clicking on the video, have decided that the title and thumbnail is enough to make them really angry. And on Monday, I made a video about the verdict in the case that Man City had brought against the Premier League, because I'd seen Man City fans celebrating as if they'd won something. And I thought that was weird. The reason I thought that was weird is because essentially what they had proved was that the Premier League had hastily thrown together rules to determine what fair market value was and what level there could be associated partner transactions. And this potentially was a significant win in terms of the fact that it might mean that those have to be totally abandoned, which would mean that clubs like City or Arsenal or Newcastle, for whom the rules were actually hastily thrown together, could just move money around their groups and therefore make the profit and sustainability regulations totally irrelevant. After all, if the Public Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia can just offer Newcastle £1 billion to rename the stadium, then that kind of money would mean that they're never going to lose any money. Their commercial deals are too strong. Therefore, they can't fall foul of profit and sustainability. And look, my view on it was actually that we should rip up profit and sustainability regulations because they're not workable, and the Premier League can only fight so long against entities like Manchester City and the Public Investment Fund, who can employ lawyers and spend a lot more money on these legal cases. I think the reality is that governments find it hard to get tax out of entities that are as big as this, and they have far more at their disposal in terms of resources to fight these cases. The Premier League, I think, is fighting a losing battle. And ultimately, I don't personally think profit and sustainability rules are necessary. They weren't brought in to level the playing field. They were brought in because the British government was threatening to have regulation introduced because football clubs were going bust, and the Football League and the Premier League didn't seem to be able to do anything about it. Premier League didn't want that kind of interference, so they hastily drew up these profit and sustainability regulations, and they've really only punished clubs that probably don't need to be punished for having spent slightly more money. But we digress. But that video, and I'll put it on screen for you now, that video, Man City defeats Premier League in legal battle, what happens next, that got the most comments from the third category, and that's people who clearly hadn't watched the video. I got told that Man City fans loved my tears. I got told that I was completely wrong, even though they were claiming I'd said things I never said. And in at least one case, with an interaction between them, the person was upfront and honest and said he hadn't watched the video. So why would so many Man City... And this is peculiar to Man City fans. It happens whenever I do a video where I say something about Manchester City. I tend to get far more comments. I mean, I'm only a small channel. I don't get thousands of comments. But the most I get is from City fans whenever I say anything at all about Manchester City. They don't watch the video. They come rushing to defence of a club which I can't see needs that much defending. And so the experiment I want to do is I'm going to say, if you've watched up to this point, again, put part 2 in your commentary. Put part 2 in your comment, and I will know you've heard at least what I say, and you may disagree with it. And of course, I will take that opinion seriously, as I promised to do. But for the rest of you, stick around, because here's what I think is actually happening and why I think that Man City fans could and should take a leaf out of Manchester United fans' books. Because I grew up in an era where Liverpool were the preeminent club in the first division, as it was then. They were indomitable. They went to every cup final seemingly. They won doubles. They won all but I think 3 leagues in the 1980s. And they had the best players, played the best football. Their fans were a little bit arrogant, but they weren't obnoxious. The way they treated us in 87 when we won the League Cup final, which was touching and exactly what you'd expect from great sportsmen, but far more so how they reacted to us winning in 1989. That famous game at Anfield, which we somehow won 2-0 against all the odds with Michael Thomas's last gasp winner. It's up for grabs! One of the greatest moments in our history as fans. A far better moment, by the way, than Aguero! If there are any City fans still watching. But we can have a debate on that. Now, those Liverpool fans who'd experienced the tragedy of Hillsborough, whose players and manager had been visiting the funerals over and over again before they played us on that last game of the season. After the rest of the teams in the league had all played, we were the last game to be played. They gave our team, when we beat them at their place in the last minutes of the game, to snatch the title away from them. They gave us a standing ovation and stayed behind to celebrate with us. That's classy. That is hugely classy. I've often wondered if I would have been in the right mood to do that as well. And I hope, if that ever happens, that I am. But that is the class of Liverpool fan. Now, Manchester United fans, I don't know if they fall into that category. But throughout the 90s and noughties, when they were dominant, and they really were dominant, I mean, they didn't win 4 in a row, but they did win the treble before anyone, and they were in everything. I mean, you couldn't move for Man United fans. Started popping up everywhere. Irritating, like Man United shops popping up in airports when you flew there. They were everywhere you went, the further flung corners of the globe. Someone was wearing a Man United shirt, and they had this new fan that really thought they understood football and obviously had chosen to latch on to Manchester United. But when we accused them of cheating, when we said that no one ever seems to get a penalty at Old Trafford, that we coined the phrase Fergie time, their fans just laughed it off. We couldn't tell them. They didn't care what we thought. They were so arrogant. They never thought their time would ever end, that this was just how it was always going to be from now on. They'd proven they were better than Liverpool. They'd proven they were better than Arsenal. They were the best team by miles, best history. And it must have been hell for City fans in their shadow. Must have been awful. I mean, if I try and imagine what it would feel like to me if Tottenham went through the same sort of thing, unbearable. But City fans did come through that. City fans did live through that, and now they're getting their revenge. They've eclipsed everything that Man United had done in a short space of time. They won the treble. They've won the treble, arguably in better style. They've completed a season with 100 points. Centurions, it's an incredible achievement. They have battered Manchester United for years now. They have the best manager, the best club, the best investment, and Manchester United's fortunes have gone completely the other way. And I feel brilliant for Man City fans, because the real fans, like Big Steve, who was on Sport Bible with Robbie Lyle, told this story about how his mum had said to him in '98 when he was still a City fan, and she said, "Why do you still support them? They're rubbish. They're never going to be anything." His fans took the mickey out of him, that why are you still putting up with Man City? But he went to Division 2. And the narrative, by the way, when Man City were in their sort of dark days in the League 2, the narrative was how great their fans were for still turning up. 20,000 and I think at points 30,000 of them would go to games in that division. And I don't know that's true of Manchester United or Arsenal. Probably true of Liverpool, in fairness, because their fans are just great. But ask yourself, I mean, Chelsea don't get that now, right? So, well, I'm exaggerating, but Chelsea fans, when they were down in the first division, they weren't getting, when they were in what is the equivalent of the Championship, they weren't getting big attendances like that. Man City fans, like Big Steve, have been through that, and now they're celebrating their glory. And I don't think it's them leaving the comments. I think they have the most romantic story. If you're still watching and you're one of them, by the way, see what I mean? I love you guys, and I think that your history of going through those times and coming out where you are now, for whatever reason, yes, you got a rich benefactor that brought you Pep Guardiola, but Jack Walker brought Alan Shearer to Blackburn and Kenny Dalglish. It's not new in football. We can all dream of it. I mean, to be fair, you know, Arsenal, Liverpool, Man United, Man City, we all have billionaire owners. Newcastle, we all have billionaire owners now. It's just a way of football. Gone are the days where a rich local man can buy a club and have a hope of winning the Premier League. It's just not possible anymore. So those Man City fans, I don't think they're the ones writing the comments. I think that if it all went today, one of the other great things that Big Steve said in the video was one of his friends had said to him, "Do you think we'll win an FA Cup before we die?" And he said, "Yeah, I reckon we've got it in us." And he said, "I would have been happy with that." So he's got so much more, and he deserves it. He deserves it. And I don't think he's particularly worried about what happens if it all ends. But maybe he's a little bit worried. Maybe he's worried that he becomes irrelevant again, because Man City fans were all over. Because Man City fans are now in every top 6 conversation, and rightly so. But they weren't. They were invisible and irrelevant. Maybe they are worried. Maybe there is fans from that era that have supported through the dark days and don't want to go back there and are scared to go back there because Cheeky's left now. The 115 charges hanging over them. Pep won't sign a new contract. Maybe there is fear that they're going to slide, even with the billionaire investment, because if you're the only club that has billionaire investment, that's a huge advantage. But if you're just one of 10, it's not that big an advantage. Maybe it is Man City fans that have come this far in the journey that are saltily leaving comments without watching the video because they think they're defending their club. They feel like they're under attack from the Premier League. That is the league they've won 4 times. I mean, obviously, if the Premier League's out to get Man City, it's done a shit job of it, hasn't it? But more likely, I think, it's the new fans who only started supporting City when they were already successful from all over the world. And we've all got them. We've got Arsenal fans who started supporting us in the Wenger era. I mean, after all, the attendance at Highbury was like 38,000, 33,000 on European games. There was a waiting list for tickets and all of that, but nothing like the number of fans we have now around the world. There's more Arsenal fans in Indonesia than there are in the UK. And if you're an Indonesian Arsenal fan, hello, love to see you. We love that football's now global and the Premier League is the centrepiece of global football. I love it. It's expanded the kind of people I get to talk to who love football every bit as much as I do. But the City ones would never have supported City in Division 2. Of course not. And they have dined out on how good they are. You know, we this and we that when their team is successful. And I think on some level, they're scared it's all going to slip away. And they can definitely take a lesson from the Man United fans who just acted like it was their birthright to be great and would never have saltily commented on one of my videos, little channel like me. So maybe you should be more like them. And if you agree with me, or if you disagree with me and you feel moved to write something in the comments, then because you are the ones that have stayed to the very end, I would ask you to please put the word crab sticks in your comment. And then we can all look at the comments, and the ones that have crab sticks in them, I think we'll all take them seriously. Even if it's something obnoxious like, you don't know what you're talking about, your team is rubbish. Which is not a good rebuttal. But I will take it more seriously if you've watched the whole video. And for everyone else who hasn't written crab sticks, or hasn't even written part 2, I think we know where we stand with them. But mark my words as proof that this video, however well it does, and I hope it does reasonably well, but it's not going to go viral. I hope it does reasonably well, and I hope that we see the kinds of comments that I'm expecting to see and just how ridiculous it is. I just think that if I had supported a club that has won 4 Premier Leagues in a row, done the Centurions, been trebles, Masters of Europe, argued to be, by many, including myself, the best team in the world, and will probably win the World Club Cup this summer, all of that being true, all of the excitement of everything you've seen and last gasp winners to win you the league, best players like De Bruyne and Rodri and Aguero, I mean, just to name a few, the Silvers, I mean, I could go on. Fernandinho, I'm not going to go on. But if you've got all that to be grateful for, why do you need to defend your club against me? You don't. I don't matter. Continue to enjoy your success, as I would do if I were in your position. And I really don't think I'm ever going to be in your position. But if I am, mark my words, I will not comment on a video unless I've watched it. And I think that's generally good practice anyway. So, crab sticks. Let me know in the comments how you feel. If you like this content, if you thought it was balanced and nuanced and you thought, oh, he's not too bad, then click subscribe, more on the way. And please do like it as well, even if you don't feel like subscribing. So as I always say, until I see you again, be lucky. Lots of love.